was James Harden. And I know you said at your presser that the best argument for him to stay is that if he wants to win, it's a good place for him to be because it's that you think you guys have a chance.
Yep.
I was curious, without saying too much, if you've been able to meet with him yet and what your conversation with him have been like. And if, assuming he is back with you guys, obviously that Embiid Harden pick and roll has been about as good a play as there's been in the league. We're talking a lot about Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys have been about as good as you can do in the pick and roll the last couple of years. Where do you see the combination of those two guys and with them Tyrese Maxey in terms of ways you can further augment what they've been able to do on the court if you can get James back this summer?
Yeah. I did meet with him. Really good talk. I mean, you guys have obviously know him and have talked to him quite a bit. He's an intelligent player, man. He's an intelligent player. He sees a lot in the game. And just, when we talk about things, he kind of same thing, almost like, he says, how'd you see it? How do you see our team? And what'd you think of the playoffs? And, just kind of start talking basketball. And he's very enjoyable to talk basketball with. Like I said, very, very smart and had a lot of experience, a lot of success. And I would say, the same thing. I mean, it is a deadly, inside outside combination. It is a deadly pick and roll combination. And just what other things can we do to polish? What other areas of the offensive side can we do to polish that? Make them even more efficient, not in those kind of actions, but maybe other actions, and then, what's the best thing we can do defensively to max those guys out?
Yeah. Harden I thought he had a pretty excellent year this year. If you take the standard as when he was the MVP, okay, maybe it wasn't the same, but he's older now and he's in his mid-30s. And he single-handedly won high-level playoff games by himself. He didn't have the greatest finish that series, but he's got a lot going for him still. He's a highly coveted player in that regard, and I'm sure that he's watched you and your team's coach as well. It's a two-way street to a certain extent. I mean, he's seen what you've done. Your guards have been pretty good in Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't answer the rest of Tim's question there too, and I think we've already talked about this too. I would say there isn't a whole lot of guys that can do some of those performances that he did in the playoffs, right? But you can't. Nobody, Steph had one, Tatum had one, James had a couple. Like there's nobody's doing that every night, nor should they, or should they be expected to. And going back to Tim, like Maxey's got to take a level up. He's got to play in some of those other games when those guys aren't firing or the game plan has changed or whatever, to take those guys out a little more. Tobias, PJ Tucker will be back. I mean, there's guys there around there that can help. Melton, those guys got to do what some of these Nugget guys are doing. Have some big time performances in some of the playoff games as well.
And you mentioned you had a relationship with Daryl Morey, as you were coming into the NBA. You were the head coach of the Rockets G League franchise. How much interaction was there with you and Daryl? And, were you involved at all with the Rockets as far as like any kind of off season or training camp? Was there any kind of relationship with Harden at that point with you?
There wasn't then with Harden, but with Daryl, there was, obviously I was down in the Rio Grande Valley coaching, but when that season would end, this time of year, we'd have a lot of long days watching film, getting ready for draft picks and talking basketball. Is a lot of good learning nights for me late into the night, with those guys, just talking about players and talking about, hoops in general. So yeah, we spent quite a bit of time together in those days, 2012, 2013, I believe, something like that.
That was get up and go. Like you guys played in Rio Grande Valley the way the Rockets played too, like high speed, right? That's what you believed in.
Yeah, that was kind of, back in some of the what would you say, experimental stages of that.
You were the laboratory, right?
Yeah. And that's part of the reason I took the job. Daryl was like, it's a laboratory down there. We're going to do, he's like, here's what we think will win. Can you find an offense that gets these kind of shots and things like that. And, we'll try to, play around with it and stuff. So yeah, it was good. Part of the reason I took the job, because I thought it'd be a huge learning coaching experience.
Well, you're an experimental coach in the NBA too. You do some stuff that other teams don't do. You're not afraid. I mean, it was one thing when you played box and one in the finals. I mean, that itself was, but you'll triangle and two, you'll do some crazy stuff out there. I think that's one of the things you become known for. I don't know if you want to be known for, but that's certainly one of the things you become known for in your career.
Well, most of that stuff just comes out of necessity. Like like a lot of times you say, well, we can't guard a man to man. Like we're trying to guard a man to man, it ain't working. So what's it look like? And we say, well, if Steph ever gets out there on his own, let's just make sure he doesn't shoot, because he's killing us. So let's do some of that stuff. And, and it's just all like, you look out there and you say, this might be the best tactic to use, and you throw it out there. And if it doesn't, you go to the press conference and say, I screwed it up. I had to talk with James about that. We ran the one time we had this diamond in one we ran against Harden one time. He'd come off of I don't want to exaggerate though, but it seemed like he had a bunch of 50-point games in a row.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years ago that was.
I remember the game you're talking about.
But it didn't even bother me. He'd shot something like from 22 to 27 free throws, like 5 games in a row. And I just said,
this was when Daryl dubbed it the Unguardable Tour and had t-shirts printed.
This is it. So
Daryl loves to print t-shirts.
Yeah.
One of his favorite things to do.
I said, listen, we're not going to go to the game tonight and I'll sit over here and watch this guy shoot 25 free throws. It's not going to be that. We're not going to do anything but that. So we decided to pick him up man to man, and we had another guy kind of high at the top of the key. And as soon as he crossed half court, we doubled and immediately doubled and just made him do something else. And we lost the game. So it didn't really.
But how many did he have?
Garner much attention. He didn't have hardly any. I can't remember exactly, but he was down in the 4 or 5, 6 range till 6 minutes to go or something. Then he threw in a couple deep threes somehow, and he still made them. Like, he finally got a couple, but it just blows me away how he hasn't shot a 3 all game, and then he finally gets open and he drains it anyway, 2 in a row, and you're like,
yeah, James has perfected that. Shoot the 3 and then fall on your butt on the way down. You never. He has no intention of actually landing on his feet. He's going to land on his butt on the way down. And
I hope they protect the shooters next year. You gotta protect the shooters.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got a couple foul shooting machines now.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.